Welcome back. A forum on Occupy Central was turned into a shouting match today. Supporters and opponents locked horns over a plan to take over Central if Beijing doesn't meet the campaign's demands for universal suffrage. As Stephanie Wong reports, its organizers say that they would continue to share the message with the public.
Tempers flared during a discussion of Occupy Central this afternoon as supporters and opponents traded barbs. Organizer of the campaign, Benny Tai, made clear a revolution was not the aim of the movement. All we want is for the chief executive to be elected through a fair system that meets international standards. Patrick Ko, convener of the pro-government group Voice of Loving Hong Kong, shot back. Democracy has only been around for a few hundred years, and it's really not a core value of the people of Hong Kong. It's just a foreign import. The heated debate centered around the campaign's plan of last resort, a 10,000-strong protest in Central if Beijing doesn't allow genuine universal suffrage in the 2017 chief executive election. After the forum, Tai stressed that Occupy Central would be carried out in a peaceful manner.
This is a movement of non-violence. So therefore, actually, there will not be any much chance that the police need to use force against the supporters of this movement.
He was responding to the police commissioner's comments earlier today. Andy Tsang said he would not rule out the use of force if the situation calls for it. The police have the responsibility to take appropriate action should any violence arise. And if we do, we'll act according to our principles and use the least amount of force to achieve our aim. Stephanie Wong, TVB News.
New regulations governing direct marketing behavior have come into effect for about 2 weeks now, and the privacy watchdog says there has been an increase in the number of complaints this year over the use of personal information by direct marketers. Andrew Lau reports.
After an amendment to the Personal Data Privacy Ordinance came into effect on April 1st, companies will be held criminally liable if they give the personal information of their customers to a third party for direct marketing purposes without obtaining their consent. The Privacy Commissioner for Personal Data, Alan Chiang, told TVB News that his office has received more than 70 complaints regarding direct marketing and the abuse of private information over the past 2 months. That's double the number of complaints from the same period a year ago.
A lot of complaints, though, are related to the fact that the response channels are provided by the direct marketers are not very effective. Sometimes they ask for responses to be made in writing, when in fact, consumers may prefer to use other channels like telephone or fax or whatever. That really is a matter of, I would say, customer service.
Before the new amendment came into effect, companies had been sending out notifications asking for permission to collect information for direct marketing purposes. Unless a consumer has expressly opted out, the firms will still be allowed to use the information after April 1st.
By being silent or by not doing anything, their rights of future opting out will not be deprived. But so these inquiries are really based on the fact, a lot of material has been received in a very short period of time, and people get a bit frustrated. But really, as I said, there is no need to make a hurry to respond to those notifications. The consumers will always retain the right to say no in future.
Chiang has urged the public to keep records of their opt-outs as evidence to help resolve possible disputes later on. Andrew Lau, TVB News.
To France, where despite loud protests, the country's Senate voted yesterday to legalize same-sex marriage. The bill is now on track to become law by summer. Even though the bill is opposed by social conservatives, it was approved by a show of hands with minor amendments. The move is France's most important social reform since abolishing the death penalty in 1981. It was also a campaign pledge by President François Hollande's ruling socialists. The bill now heads to the National Assembly lower house next month, where the socialists have an absolute majority. Once approved there, in addition to legalizing gay marriage, same-sex couples will be allowed to adopt children.
American comedian Jonathan Winters has died at the age of 87. His career as an improvisational genius and stand-up comedian spanned more than 50 years on television and in film. As the king of made-up characters, Winters inspired the likes of Robin Williams, Jim Carrey, and Steve Martin. Here's NBC News with more.
You couldn't quite put your finger on it, but something about Jonathan Winters made you laugh. Oftentimes, even before he opened his mouth. He made the giants of the day, from Carson to Martin, even the chairman of the board, cry with laughter too. Winters came from Dayton, Ohio, and got his start when his wife entered him in a talent contest so he could win a new watch.
My friend Jonathan Winters.
Soon it was off to New York and stand-up and The Tonight Show. And to Hollywood and the wackiest of all road movies, it's a mad, 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 mad world.
Now, fellas, you keep this up, and I'm going to get sore. I mean it.
Gary Owens worked alongside Winters in Laugh-In.
Every time he was a different character, he had a different face.
He had a genius for characters from Maude Frickert.
Give me a little, oh, isn't that sweet?
To Chester Honeyhugger. Winters also worked with Muppets.
I can't go on tonight. I just can't go on tonight.
And Mork and Mindy. Winters did struggle through dark periods, suffering a nervous breakdown and spending months in a mental institution. But today, this master of the improv was honored in tweets. Bob Newhart wrote, "Jonathan Winters was the king, a true genius." And Dick Van Dyke said, "The first time I saw Jonathan Winters perform, I thought I might as well quit the business because I could never be as brilliant." He spoke to Tom Brokaw in 1971.
I just hope I live to be an old man. I really do.
Jonathan Winters was 87. Kevin Tibbles, NBC News, Chicago.
And he will truly be missed. What do you have for us in sports today, Chris?
Shot of the day, a couple of days, 3 days. Jason Day shot a 4 under par on the second day of the Masters in Augusta to sit atop the leaderboard. And 14-year-old Guan Tianlang of China, the youngest player ever at the Masters, became the youngest ever to make a cut at a major tournament. Alan Booknia has the action.
A day after more than 30 players broke par in the opening round of the Masters, rain and wind made things a little tougher. A rare birdie shot for defending champion Bubba Watson, who barely made the cut at +4. World number 1 Tiger Woods was rolling along until his third shot on the 15th hole hit the flag and bounced into the water. He recovered to bogey and sits at 3 under par.
The sun's in my eyes, so I knew I started on the flag with a slight cut. The wind was coming off right a little bit, so I thought it was a good shot. And unfortunately, it clipped the flag and went back in the water.
The day belonged to Australian Jason Day, who curled in a 13-foot birdie putt on the par 3 16th hole to break a 3-way tie. He's 6 under par after 2 rounds.
It's obviously great to have the lead. I'm very excited for the challenge over the next 2 days. It's exciting. It really is exciting that I have the opportunity to win the Masters.
14-year-old Guan Tianlang posted a 75 on a day that included a controversial penalty stroke for slow play. He's at 4 over par and has clinched the Silver Cup awarded to the low amateur at the Masters. With 2 rounds to go, Day has a 1-shot lead over Fred Couples and Mark Leishman. Angel Cabrera, Jim Furyk, and Brandt Snedeker are 2 shots back. Tiger is still among those within striking distance. Alan Booknia, TVB News.
Next, something you don't see every day in baseball, a triple play. And a good one, too, as far as the team that pulled it off is concerned. To Yankee Stadium we go. New York hosting the Baltimore Orioles. Top of the 8th inning, the visitors had 2 runners on, nobody out. Manny Machado hit a sharp liner for force out at second, and then 2 Baltimore runners were caught in separate rundowns. In other words, they just ran themselves out of an inning. For the Yankees, what a relief for ace CC Sabathia and his teammates. New York went on to win this one 5-2. In the NBA, the Brooklyn Nets beat the Indiana Pacers to secure home court advantage in the first round of the playoffs. Deron Williams had 33 points and 14 assists. Final score 117-109. The Nets are guaranteed the number 4 seed in the Eastern Conference.
And finally, a legendary bar in Havana has reopened its doors for the first time since the Cuban Revolution almost 50 years ago. Sloppy Joe's was one of Havana's most famous pre-revolutionary bars and a favorite haunt of American tourists and film stars, particularly during the Prohibition years in the 1920s and early 30s. It was the subject of Our Man in Havana, a novel by British author Graham Greene, a regular at Sloppy Joe's. And in 1959, the book was turned into a movie starring Alec Guinness and Noel Coward, as also regulars seen here with Ernest Hemingway. And that's our show. Thanks for watching.
Good night.